Hi, thanks for joining me. In this video I'm going to strip down this cylinder, get it all cleaned up, check it all over and then get it back in the bike. Now I know already that there's a couple of marks in this bore, but what my aim is to do is, because my main issue with this engine was with the bottom end previously, so that's why I've stripped all the bottom end down in the previous videos. That's all back together. Before I spend any money on this getting it repaired or whatever it needs doing, I want to get the bike up and running, make sure that the problem with the bottom end's sorted, because you don't want to spend any money on this if the bottom end's still knackered. So yeah, that's the plan. Hopefully all going well, we get it all back together, the engine runs, it's all good. There's a couple of little marks on the bar, but not too much to worry about, not yet anyway. And then what I'm going to do is I'll probably run that piston for about 10 hours. If all going well, I'll strip the cylinder back down, and then if it needs any repair work doing, I'll repair it and send it off and get it replated or whatever it needs doing. So we'll crack on getting it stripped down. Cheers. Cylinder. Now I'm just going to go ahead and get it all cleaned up. All I use is just some carb cleaner. Seems to get it off pretty well. So that's the cylinder clean. As you can see in there, it's not so bad. Couple of little marks on it. There is one little not a chip, but I don't know if you can see it just in there, about there. Now I took it to someone to have a look at and they reassured me that it's not to worry about, so I'll take his word for it. But other than that, the cylinder isn't too bad, so I'll get the rest of the parts cleaned off. Right, so that's all of the parts cleaned off, or as good as clean as they're going to get from me anyway. I'm not one of these who will polish everything so it's like a mirror finish. I don't have the time really, or the patience. Wouldn't mind it, but I ain't got the patience for it. So at this point, it's a good chance, a good opportunity to check your cylinder head. So all you need is a flat bar and put it on there. Check if it's been warped or out. And if you get that on there, they have tolerances in the manuals. And if you think it's warped, get a feeler gauge and go underneath it. Obviously, if it is warped, you're going to have to take your studs out and then get a bit of wet and dry sandpaper and with a good flat block, and just sand it back flat again and keep checking it. Obviously, if you do that, then it's going to need a good clean again because you're going to have particles in there. And also at this point, I would check that I've got the right piston size. So all you need to do is use a caliper if you haven't got one, or you're not that confident with it, because I know these aren't great, they're not that accurate on your cheap one. But go and take it to someone just to measure it for you, and all they'll measure the inside diameter. And so for instance this one, I've measured it and it measures at 54, pretty much bang on, 54 mil. So you need to check the clearance in your manual. There should be piston to cylinder clearance, and on this one it's 0.05 to 0.06. And to check that you've got the right piston, So if you drum it in your calculator, so I've got 54 bar, take away my pistons 53.95, 53.95, and that gives me 0.05, so I'm in the ballpark there. That's bang on, to be fair. So, and I've got a bit of clearance there as well for when the bore does start to wear down. I can still keep using the same size piston for a little bit, but every time I'll change a piston I always check the bore anyway, make sure I've still got it right. So I'll go ahead, put all these bits back together. As I'm putting them back in, what I'll do, I'll lube it with 2-stroke oil, so it's getting a good lubrication on before you strike it up. Alright, that's the cylinder good to go. All cleaned up, lubed up, new gaskets on, all coming in and out as they should, all the valves, so I'm happy. We're going to get the piston on. So I've already checked that the piston size is right for our bore. Now what I'm going to do next, I'm going to check the piston ring gap, just to make sure really. I mean, if it's a brand new piston then it should be bang on in tolerance, but I'm using the same piston what came out. I mean, it's hardly out anywhere on it anyway. It's still pretty new, but because it is an old one, I'm just going to check this ring and make sure we're in tolerance for the ring gap. All right. So just slot your piston ring into the top of your bar. I don't know if you can see that. Just slot it in there. Get it down as evenly as you can. Alright, so hopefully you can just see that gap there. And now on this bike, if you look in any manuals, it'll give you service limits on it. Now the minimum for this is like 0.035, which is practically nothing. So we're fine on the minimum. But what we're really interested in is the service limit, so the max gap that it can tolerate really, and that's 0.9, which is fairly big really. Now I've used my feeler gauge already to get this, but I'll just show you. So if you get a feeler gauge, and then when you put it in, you just want a slight bit of resistance on it. Like that. And there, on that one, we're at 0.279, so well within tolerance there. So I'm happy with that piston ring. So we're going to fit the ring onto the piston. Before you do, they'll have a little indication on it, so it'll have like a number or a letter, and that wants to go to the top, facing up. Now I always find it best to try and hook one end in, and then just prise it out and get the rest over the top. A bit like that. And then what we do when we put it into the cylinder is it needs to be lined up on this pin, either side of that. So when we're putting it down into the bar, we squeeze that in and then we'll put the bar over the top. But we need to make sure that the piston ring gap is located in the centre of this pin here. Alright, so we can go ahead now and get one side of the piston pin clip in, which is a bit tricky sometimes, so I'll try and do my best to show you. Alright, so I get it to this point here where half the clip's into the slot, or one end is in the slot, and then I'll get the needle nose on that end and try and bend it in there. Something like that. Now I always found that it helps if you put the piston pin in to get the first one in. And now all I need to do is pull that piston pin out the other end, and then we can get everything else on it. If you do happen to scratch it while you're putting the pin in, while you're putting the clip in, don't worry about it too much. If there's any jagged edges, just get a little bit of emery cloth on it, and just a fine emery cloth to sand it down so it's smooth again. Other than that, it won't make a difference. Now we're ready to put the piston on the rod. So first of all, it's a good idea just to put a load of either rags or a bit of paper towel, blue roll like I've put in here, on top of the crank, just in case when it comes to putting in the next clip or any other bits that you've got, don't drop inside there, because if we drop out in there, then we're pretty much knackered really. We're going to have to strip it all back down, especially if we lose a piston clip in there. Alright, so when I'm putting everything together, I'm gonna lube it all up with 2-stroke oil. So I'm gonna put the roller bearing in first. Get plenty of lube on there. Same on the inside of that. And in. And don't forget as well, on your piston, it's got a little arrow on it. You can see that there. And that arrow, you're just saying it, pointing forward towards the exhaust. So I'm going to slot that over. In fact, I'm going to put a little lube on the pin first. Line it up, push the pin through. And there we are. Push it all the way in. Now we can get the next, this piston pin clip on now. Exact same way as I put the other side on. I'll get it in a little bit, then use the pliers. Okay, that's the piston on. Now we can go ahead and get the cylinder on. Okay, so at this point we can get rid of these rags. Don't leave them in there. I always find it's easier to put the piston at top dead centre. Just gives me a bit more room when I'm putting the cylinder on, that's all. Now I'll lubricate the bore with a little bit of 2-stroke oil. Just give it a light coating, don't need too much. Same with the piston skirt as well, I'll put a bit on that. Get it around the top and on the skirt. Right, now just don't forget when we're putting the cylinder on that the piston ring wants to be centred over the pin on the piston. Alright, so I'm just going to pinch them like that. And then slide your barrel over. Now before I put any of my nuts on, I'm just going to just move the crank up and down, make sure that piston's flowing freely without any snags or out like that. And you can see it coming up and down in the cylinder there. That seems fine. So I'm going to get my nuts on there now and get them tightened up. And now we can go ahead and get it torqued. So on this it's 25 Newton meters on this one. Now I can get to these back too, but on the front ones I'm going to have to use the spanner. There's that one. Let's see, I can't get to these front ones, so what I do, I just get my spanner, put it in between, and just so I've got that sort of set up so I can get a bit more leverage on it, so I know it's tight enough to get it to 25. And then just this last front one to do. I'm happy with that. So now I can go ahead and get the cylinder head on. Okay, so a new gasket, and just slide the head on. Get your nuts on, and then it's just a case of torquing them up. Go around them all same as we did before, just do them in a crisscross pattern. And there we are, that's the top end back together. What I'll do now is I'll just give it another test, make sure it's all running up and down smoothly. Sounds good. Okay, so now all we need to do is put the rest of the power valve back together. So that's the top end complete, and that's the full engine rebuilt back together. Hopefully on the next video you'll see me getting it back in the bike and get it struck up. I hope that someone out there has found it helpful and it's given them the confidence to give it a go themselves. I'm no professional mechanic, I'm just trying to save a few quid here and there doing things myself. There's only a few things I won't do myself. I'll always have a go, because if you don't have a go you'll never know. So thanks for watching, I appreciate it. If you've got anything, any feedback or any comments, just drop them down below. Yeah, keep it tight. Thanks for watching, much appreciated. Cheers.